Hello, class. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about feature articles. And if you look in Canvas on Tuesday, March 31st, you'll see the assignment, feature article 1. And just remember these principles of feature articles. They're not like departments. They are unique from each other. They don't even have to look like each other. They don't have to conform to the grid that you made for your magazine. In other words, you can have a different margin, a different number of columns. The folio information should stay the same, but you can change your margins, you can change your columns, you can change the fonts that you use. They can have a unique look. Now, within the article, if it's say a 4-page article or a 5-page article, you should be consistent within the article. Use the same margins and columns, but that feature article does not have to look like any other feature article, and it doesn't have to look like the departments. You want it to be design rich, okay? You want to do creative typography for the title, do some really interesting things with photographs. When you're done, you want this to be a portfolio piece. Background color, creative text box shapes, creative illustrations. Just think about it being a portfolio piece. Use lavish artwork. Don't use a whole lot of text. Don't overdo the text. You can go with less text. You can have things like sidebars, things like that. Remember that less is more. Sometimes charts or graphs can be a way to make things look more interesting. All right, and then here are the major pitfalls to avoid that we've kind of gone over before. Remember though to make your text look as if it's real. It'll be the Latin text, so it won't be real, but treat it like it's real. In other words, if you want a hard break between paragraphs, you decide where the paragraphs are and put a hard break between them. Create quote outs. Use drop caps if you want, but just make sure that you make it look like it's real text. Okay, so I'm going to go back here and we'll look at some examples. And these examples are all from, let's see, Spinning Rainbow of Death. Even happens on screencast. We'll do this. Okay. These are all from, well, they're not all from class. A few of these are not. Okay. But your intro pages of your feature articles should be very creative, very exciting like this. This is very dynamic. Look how the typography has been used creatively. Not a lot of text, but very bold, exciting headline. It's the guy's name, but still it's an article about this person. Sometimes a background graphic that kind of bleeds behind the text can be good. Just notice it has to be light enough that you'd be able to read on top of it. You can have a bleeding photograph. Sometimes you can do layout things that are interesting, like these diagonal text columns. They go along with the letter Z, which go along with this article about Pierre Zwart, who was a graphic designer. Very appropriate for the topic. So they didn't just randomly decide, hey, I think I'm going to make these text columns diagonal. They did it because of the letter Z. So, if you do something creative, it's nice if you can make it fit with the topic. You can do creative illustrations. This is kind of nice. All these different fruits and vegetables forming the shape of a heart, and then you got the type reversed here very large. Notice there's all this empty space, but it's thrown to the outside. It's not trapped white space. And then there's a column on the inside here. Supplemental headlines there. Again, creative typography that goes along with the topic here of memory loss. It might be Alzheimer's, I believe. I'm not sure. But the typography goes with the concept, which goes with the photo. So be creative. Have fun with this stuff. You can do things like having photos inside of text, like we showed you how to do in class. You can do textural effects like they have here. Here's another example on this one where the typography is conforming to the photo, where you got the tier going down the page at a curve, and the columns follow that curve. Very creative. This kind of thing where you've got if you can just imagine being given a group of people to talk about and you can't think of anything particularly graphic to show, you can do something with the text, like put the text inside this giant letter Q for quizzers, and then show these guys thinking like they would do. All right, and then here we've got now we're getting into some of my students' work. 10 reasons not to be afraid of sushi, and then they got different types of sushi, and it's all in this wrap kind of roll, which is what these are. So the typography goes along with the image. Very creative. You could do illustrations if you want. This was by a student named Jamie Whitbread, who did her own illustrations. This is a 2-page article, which the preview, let me zoom in. Let's see. Okay. Maybe zoom in a little bit more, or out, I should say. Okay, notice this water reflection of the title. That was done in Photoshop. This kind of creative border that calls to mind the coastline of the Philippines, and then a background photo back there. Just very, very interesting. Okay, so here, believe it or not, this is not a photograph. It looks just like a photograph, but it is actually a 3D model that was made by a student of mine. I think he used 3D Max. He even put reflections in the window and things like that. But so if you have a skill like that with illustration you'd like to show off, you can do that. This was a student who went on a Europe trip and took a lot of photographs, so she used her photography in the feature articles, and this is great typography here. I love the contrast of these fonts and the color and the use of the black and white photo. And you'd think, well, a black word on top of a black and white photo wouldn't stand out, but she used an outer glow, and that made it work really well. Again, don't forget typography. You can use type in creative and beautiful ways. Again, not a lot of text. You don't have to have a ton of text. Creative things you can do with type. Okay, so this is what the feature articles should be. They should be creative. They should be not like the departments. You should invest a lot of time and creativity into the way you approach these. So if you have any questions about these, just let me know. Thanks.